Hello, my name is Greg Madison. Welcome back to the Living Process. We've had a summer break, and I hope all of you have had a great summer. Those of you who live in a place where it has just been summer. Some of you are lucky enough to be going into summer, but here in the UK, we're going into autumn, and it has really come with a bang. But also, it has its own charms, and yeah, at least today I'm not dreading it. I was really fortunate to have today a guest, Allan Rohlfs. Allan is very well known in the focusing community from many years ago, from its sort of beginnings, way back when changes groups were forming and Jean was first teaching about focusing. Allan also is a longtime member of the Nonviolent Communications community and knew Jean and Marshall Rosenberg both very well. So in this episode, he tells a lot of really interesting history of what it was actually like back in America when Gene and Marshall and others were beginning to become involved in sort of disseminating Roger's work in different ways. He also talks a lot about his new book and the importance, the pivotal place actually of empathic listening to him. And his new book is called When I Listen, People Speak and Come Alive. And I'll put a link to that so that people can find it. What he said about the book, it sounds like a fascinating sort of manual, really, for anyone to learn this process of helping someone speak from what they're actually feeling. And it's meant for anyone. And I was really struck that a lot of his emphasis was how to bring these sensitivities into the broader public domain rather than simply for partnerships or within the consulting room. So I found it a very inspiring conversation. I really enjoyed it. Yeah, and it is the beginning of the podcast's kind of new season, I guess. And I know that coming up, there's some other really interesting guests. So I'm really happy to see what evolves in the next few episodes of the podcast. Welcome back to the Living Process and Allan Rohlfs. And I'm very happy to say that my guest is Allan Rohlfs. But what I always like to do at the beginning is just ask a little bit about how you got into focusing or focusing oriented therapy or met Gene Gendlin or however it all began for you.
That's exactly where if you had said start, I would have started right there.
Okay,
So
perfect.
so I was involved in 1968. Um, I was in a theological seminary and in Chicago, Illinois, and I served my internship in Los Angeles, California, right at the beginning of, or right in the heart of what came to be called the human potential movement,
Okay.
which was when a lot of new therapies were being born. Gestalt therapy, transactional analysis, encounter groups, psychodrama, uh, movement dance therapy
Mhm.
were in vogue at that time. And in my internship from seminary, I was at a church which opened its doors to the counterculture because it was also the heart of the counterculture. And so the counterculture swarmed into our church all day long. And we had many programs to facilitate them or respond to them, free food and legal counseling and first aid. Therapists from all over, we were known as the scene in Los Angeles. So therapists from all over who wanted to be a part of the scene would come to our church to volunteer
Wow.
to give groups to the hippies who were coming to us. And I sat in on every group. Uh, so I was immersed in these new kinds of therapies and was absolutely fascinated by them,
Hmm.
as well as going to the Esalen Institute, which is still in existence today. And then there was a counterpart to that in Los Angeles, the Topanga Center for Human Growth. But when I returned to what I found in that was that there was a prohibition to any kind of thinking about what you were doing. And at that time, what it was called, if you reflected on what you were doing in the experiential groups, because they were all experiential, at that time, you were immediately shut down by the leader, and it was called mind fucking. You're in your head.
Mm.
Uh, what are you feeling instead? Well, I grew up in philosophy and then in seminary in systematic theology
Hmm.
and then also in psychology. So I was very interested in theory and how we understood all of this. So that when I returned to seminary for my final year in 1969, long story, more than you thought.
No, 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 it's interesting. Very interesting.
I got back to Hyde Park, Chicago, which is where my seminary was in the University of Chicago and a number of other schools in Hyde Park itself. And I see a flyer on a lamppost in the neighborhood that talked about someone who was doing a presentation on focusing, which was the intersection of it. They didn't call it intersection, but it was that of thinking and experiencing. And I thought, oh. So I went, and it was on a Sunday night, and it was Gendlin who was doing the presentation.
Hmm.
That was my interest. Now, I was fascinated with his very first words. I remember them distinctly. He started out by saying, after listening to hundreds or thousands of tape recordings of therapy, we found that. And I sat up bolt upright. Somebody who was doing research on this.
Mm.
And then he talked about focusing. And he said, we found about focusing, the results of it, and that people who focused did this and had successful outcomes and those who didn't. And I'm going to take you through a focusing exercise that will only take 10 minutes. It will be silent. It will be to yourself. And he did. And that was the initial instructions in focusing. No one knows what that is anymore. There are old articles which publish that, but that wasn't the 6 steps. The 6 steps came quite some time later.
Okay.
But he took us through the 10 minutes, and I had a shift on something. It wasn't a huge problem, but it was a nagging problem that I had had for years. I was hooked.
Mhm. Let me say some of that back to you because it is so
Yeah.
fascinating. I mean, it just sounds very exciting to have been involved in such a radical scene that was emerging at that time when people were actually kind of pushing the boundaries of what these practices could be. And interesting to me that maybe different from a lot of other people who came to focusing just because it gave access to the body. It sounds like your attraction to what Sean was presenting was that it gave access to the body and thinking at the same time. That was what you were looking for.
Yes, yes, yes. Somebody who was not afraid of, in fact, embraced
Yeah.
thinking about what we were doing,
Yeah.
about what was happening. Yep. Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
And so it was both that from Gendlin, but then also the experience in which I had a shift
Yeah.
that was powerful for me.
Yeah.
And I wanted to learn more about this.
So is that what happened next? You,
Now, it didn't happen next because it was fully a year later, except that I told people about this, but it was a year later that then Gendlin at the Human Potential Center in Chicago,
Mhm.
I can't remember the name of it right now, but there was a human growth center there, held a workshop. Uh, and that was, I think, my next first encounter with Gene or possibility of being with him. And then I was in the workshop. Uh, it was a 1 day or was it a 2 day therapy workshop?
Uh-huh.
So that was my then first exposure to Gendlin himself.
Mhm.
And that's actually where my book on empathic listening began.
Mhm.
Uh, because what happened was that at the beginning of the group, about 12 of us go around the circle and each say why we're there. And after each person spoke, there was a woman who began the thing, and then we went around the circle. I was next to last. And after each person said something, which was very vulnerable and revealing of where they were and why they were there, this woman made a comment, made a comment that I heard as very judgmental.
Mhm.
So she would say something like, I don't remember exactly what she said, but she would say something like, and she did this 100% of the time after every person spoke. She'd say something like, well, I don't see why that's such a big deal. After all, after all, if you just,
Mhm.
and I was getting angrier and angrier and angrier.
Mhm.
So that when it came around to me, I was in a terrific bind because I didn't know how to say that I was angry without being judgmental of her.
Yeah, exactly.
So I sat almost mute. And I remember, and I'm kind of bent over like now, and I mumbled something. And I mumbled something what I think is incoherent. And Jean got it. And I did what I just did right now.
Mhm.
And then I started to sit up a little bit and I said a little more. And then he got that. And then I continued sitting more. And he got that until I had said what was going on with me and I was able to fully participate in the group. At the end of the day, my closest friend was in the group with me because I had convinced him to come. I said to him, Keith, what did he do to me?
Mhm. What Gene was doing in that instance with you, that was quite different than what you had been experiencing.
I'd never in my life experienced that before.
Okay. Wow.
And he got me at the depth that I was saying something and as incoherent and also convoluted that I was saying. It was only a sentence or two, but I just mumbled something
Hmm.
and he got it.
Hmm. Yeah.
So at the end of the day, when I asked Keith what did he do, then as we thought about it, I thought, oh, is this kind of listening that I learned about in college in a class, but only from a book? And that was my introduction to listening. But I was so taken with that now I get to a shorter story, that I wanted to learn how to do it. And I approached Gendlin after a class at the University of Chicago and asked him, and he remembered me, of course, because I'd been in the workshop. I wasn't in his class. Gene allowed anybody to come to his classes. And I asked him if he would teach me. And he said, yes. He said, come on over to my house. And I went over to his house and I sat on the floor of his living room, no furniture, only a desk. There's only one and a rug in the living room on South Cole Street. And he said, you know, I've been trying to figure out how to teach this for a long time. And he got out a bunch of notes and he started to talk to me about it. And I'm sitting there taking notes. And then at the end of that time, he said, I want a copy of your notes. And then that happened another time or more. I don't remember how often that did. And that turned into uh, the listening manual, which is chapter 11 of the Focusing book.
Wow.
And there's just a little bit more, which is that coming out of seminary in this time of social change, which is the Vietnam War and the Civil Rights Movement in the United States, all of us in seminary were trying to think about what it is that we could do that would actually be contributing to social change. And somehow I got a hold of Gene's article on community psychology. Not many people know about it. It's just a 8-page article, 6-page, something like that, in which he says that there are widespread studies on mental health, one in Oakland, that says about half of the population are in need of psychological help. And there's another one in Manhattan that says 80% of the population are in need of a psychological help. And Gendlin says, obviously, we don't have enough professionals to deal with this. But there are certain identifiable sub-processes of therapy
Mm-hmm.
which can easily be taught and learned that everyone can do, such that when they would do them, it makes that available to the general population. And I thought, combined with my experience of him in the workshop, the day-long workshop, I thought, aha, that's what I can do.
That's very interesting. So you met Gene when he was still trying to find a way to teach sort of what it was that was helpful that he was offering, and not it coincidentally or whatever, it was also what felt most important to you.
Yes, 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 yes. And I thought, aha, here is something that I could do.
Hmm.
I can learn this and I can teach it and I can disseminate it.
Hmm.
So that's what it was. Now, there's still one little more part to this, is that coincidental at that time, 6 of Gendlin's students at the University of Chicago, graduate students, had the same question as I did. What can psychology offer that would be social change?
Hmm.
And those 6 students, and I can tell you all of their names, all women, by the way, uh, decided that what they could do was keep people out of mental hospitals. And they could do that by identifying people who were on the street, who at that time were called heavy people. That was the jargon of the day. Heavy meaning that a lot is going on with them. But it's the hippie term for a mental problem.
Okay.
Uh, and they would find them in the neighborhood and they would listen to them as the way of seeing if they could keep people out of mental hospitals. And then they would gather once a week on Sunday nights for a potluck and support each other in that process.
Hmm.
And quickly, that Sunday night meeting of supporting each other was open to they decided to have it open to everyone.
Mhm.
And we moved to a church to do that, and including inviting the people who were the heavy people to come in, and everyone learned how to listen so that uh, there would be an instruction in how to listen, and we would all break down into groups of about 6 people or so and go around the circle and do a round robin in listening. And that group was called Changes.
Uh-huh.
Kathy McGuire was a part. Kathy was a part of that. She was a part of the original group. That's how I met Kathy, as a matter
Okay.
of fact.
Yeah.
So that kind of completes the story of how I entered into the whole thing, because I had the experience, and then it was Gendlin's class or paper on community psychology, and his teaching me, and then being supported by this community of changes
Yeah.
that would meet. And yeah.
It's really interesting to me because, I mean, it sounds like initially it was almost like a listening outreach.
Yes, yes, yes. Uh-huh.
And it's
Yeah.
interesting to me that a lot of people that come to Gene's work
Hmm.
who are counselors or psychologists or whatever,
Hmm. Hmm.
they're looking for a way to maybe understand change, to make their own practice more effective, to help clients more, whatever. But what I hear in your story, I mean, that may be true for you as well, but what I hear
Hmm.
you emphasizing at least is this much broader
Hmm.
kind of that there's something about Gene's work, and I think if we go on to some of your other influences, maybe some of the other work that you've done that has a much broader social view. It's not purely so-called clinical.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Right. The concept of disseminating this from Gene's article on community psychology
Yeah.
and making it available to everyone
Yeah.
was and still is very powerful
Hmm.
for me,
Yeah.
such that in December, I finally, after years and years and years, wrote a book on empathic listening, which was exactly for that purpose.
Okay.
Because there, to my knowledge, is nothing in the literature which addresses this for everyone in with as full of a presentation as I do,
Hmm.
and is solely arguing, presenting a case for people to do this. First, introducing it, this unfamiliar way of being with another person, and then making a case for people to try this out.
So let's jump to that. I was going to save that
Uh-huh,
until a little bit later, but
uh-huh, uh-huh.
let's jump to it and then we can fill in sort of the blanks
Yes, 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 yes,
afterwards.
yes.
Um,
Thank you. This is delightful.
yeah, what is what's the name of the book?
The name of the book is
Yeah.
When I Listen, People Speak
Hmm.
and Come Alive.
Hmm. That's a great title.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I love that
Hmm.
title.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And my first question is why now? What made this the time?
Well, uh, it was probably about 10 years in the writing, and I have not, this is my first and only book. I had no idea what I was doing. But at some point, I wanted to write something, so I wrote something along with my teaching because I teach, I give workshops in this, and I've done this for years to give a 2 or 3 or 4 day intensive workshop in it. So yeah, the writing started as an outcome of doing the workshops because in the workshops, I would not only present this and then coach people in doing it very intensively, but also then give the theoretical or the conceptual underpinnings for this. And the conceptual underpinnings for it come from Gene.
Yeah.
They really do not come, for me, they do not come from Rogers.
Okay.
Uh, they come from Gene. Of course, now Gene comes from Rogers, so he has all of that. And I read a lot of Rogers too. I joined the staff at some point of the Chicago Counseling Center, which was started by Rogers in 1945 at the University of Chicago, and it continued on forever. And I joined the staff in 1974. And all were still teaching client-centered therapy and had a practicum in it that was open to everyone to do. So I'm well acquainted with Rogers, but
Hmm.
it was really Gene's understanding of the process
Hmm.
that I would teach when I then did workshops. Uh, and I think that was the reason I just thought of that right now, that I started to write, which was to expand on the things that I would try to present to people as here is how you can think about what you are doing. And that process took forever.
Yeah.
And at some point in doing that, I realized, oh, I might have a book here.
So,
That's how that evolved.
so let me ask, could we sort of just break it down into what you understand as empathic listening, or how you teach it, how you describe the method, the process, and then what you understand is actually happening, or why does it work? Why does it help people?
Well, that gets to another part of the story.
Okay.
So I was, of course, fascinated with this, with Gendlin and with what had happened to me and what I saw happening everywhere else. And from changes, changes was an incredible experience. And just a little story to fill this out. Gene would come in and he did a 10 session series in which he was teaching listening. And people heard about this and came to our Sunday night meetings. We had as many and I counted people who were there. We had as many as 120 people who came to the meeting to hear Gene teach. And then we all break down into small groups and practice. But what would happen in changes, it was such uh, a movement, so to speak. It wasn't only changes, but people would pair off to learn more and do co-counseling with each other during the week.
Uh-huh.
Um, and sometimes would even tape their sessions and listen to them so that there was a movement among the people who were coming, most of whom were not professionals at all, nor even necessarily students, to to learn how to do this. Uh, that's a piece of it that, for me, also supported what I was doing
Before we
with
get
it.
to
Yes.
how
Okay.
you developed it, uh,
Yes.
I
Mhm.
have to ask, because you tell that with such enthusiasm, and
Yes. 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 Yes.
it sounds so exciting to me
Yes.
that my inner response is, why did it not sort of mushroom and grow and spread all over?
Well, you have to ask Kathy McGuire about that because
Okay.
she's the person who really has advanced the changes movement
Uh-huh.
uh, to the extent that it did. But uh, it petered out. It lasted for about 4 or 5 years in at that church in Chicago, and then um, the graduate students all got their PhDs and moved on, but
Yeah.
they were no longer necessarily the core of it. But uh, I don't exactly know why that didn't take off
Yeah.
from there. I know that wherever Kathy went, she would attempt to start a new group.
Hmm. Hmm.
I think she did that more than anybody else that I know of. So I don't know.
Yeah. I think it's a long-standing question in the focusing world, at least, why it has remained kind of a niche sort of approach, and sort of in some sense, Gendlin is very well known, and yet focusing is so unknown.
Yeah, yes, yeah, yes, yeah. Yeah, I don't have an answer to that, or I haven't thought about that of why it didn't take more than it has.
Yeah, more than it.
That's what you're saying.
Yeah,
That's the question you're posing there. Yeah.
yeah. But out of that sort of fertile ground,
Uh-huh,
you
right.
continued to develop things. And I'm curious of what you developed in terms of empathic listening.
Yes. I wanted to say that about changes for some further reason
Hmm.
that I don't. I know where the story was going.
Okay.
So I was always curious, uh, what made listening work?
Yes. Good.
And I remember Gene was offering focusing workshops in Chicago. Uh, this was when the Focusing Institute first got formed,
Okay.
and I would go to those. They were pretty much open to everyone. And I went to one once, and I said, "So Gene, during it, I also sat in on his classes, many, many, many classes. I have tapes and tapes and tapes of, he allowed tape recording, and I have 100 cassette tapes. So I asked Gene at some point, so why does listening work?
Yeah.
And he was doing a focusing workshop and he put me off. It was one of the rare times that he did not answer a question. But the questions stuck with me.
Hmm.
This was at least 30 years ago. The questions stuck with me. And it did, it continued. And it was about 10 years ago that it came to me. Now, listening, the interaction is a very complex interaction. So this doesn't answer fully. But what did come to me is that listening keeps the speaker connected with the sense that they are trying to find words for. Now, that's only one reason that it works, because there's the interaction as well. But that's what I came to. Aha. The listening keeps the speaker
Hmm.
focused upon, attentive to,
Hmm.
exactly on the thing that is there
Yeah.
that they are attempting to bring words to.
Yeah. Yeah. That the listening, the kind of listening you're talking about,
Yes, yes, yes. Uh-huh.
it's it keeps the speaker connected to where the words are coming from.
From to where the words are coming from.
Yeah.
Yes, 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 yes. Uh-huh. Which one can lose a hold of so quickly.
Yes, definitely.
And that's the listening that I teach. I teach exactly that. What are you listening to? You're listening to
Uh,
the feeling.
yeah.
I'm now using the word feeling like felt sense.
Yeah.
Uh, you're listening to the feeling, to the place. And no, it's not place. I don't say that. You're listening to that which is there, which the person senses,
Yeah.
from which the words then come.
Yeah.
The way that you just said it was better.
Hmm. No, I really get that. Even as you say it, I can feel it, that it's that experience within the person that you're listening to. It's like
Yes,
you're
yes,
wanting to help hold that as it kind of comes forth into language.
yes, yes. As it comes forth into language.
Yeah.
So you hear the words, but you are never listening for the meaning of the words. You're listening for. So then I say something else too.
Mhm.
I say, does this mean you won't buy my book if I tell you this
No,
is?
no, no, I promise. You can give it all away and we'll still buy it.
You're listening to that. And then there's another part there. So when I give instructions on this, I say the parts that are known by everyone in listening are what are the ones that are observable, which are the verbal behaviors,
Mhm,
which have been talked about as saying back what you heard the person say, repeating,
mhm,
reflecting,
mhm,
feeding back,
mhm,
summarizing, getting the gist, the number of ways that people express that.
mhm.
What isn't said is where that comes from, the saying back, because it isn't a
Yeah,
mental activity.
yeah.
So that's the other thing that I add to it. And I call that, I have a chapter in the book called The Inside Job, is my name for it, which is how, what you listen for, and then what you say is the meaning that the other person is attempting to convey
Mhm,
that then forms in you.
mhm,
And what you say back to them is what formed in you,
mhm.
which you got from them,
Yeah, yeah,
so that it is never their words, even if you are saying the very words that they said.
yeah,
They are your words that you are
yeah.
saying from that which formed in you, which you got from them.
Mhm. Yeah. Okay, that is a really nice way to say it. I mean, what you're saying sounds really familiar to me from
Yeah,
Jean's work,
yeah,
but
yeah. Uh-huh.
the way you're saying it now, I've never said it or heard it that way. But it really, let me see if I can say it back to you.
Yes, 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 please,
Um,
please.
that the speaker, you're not listening and trying to figure out the meaning of their words.
Right. Absolutely not. Uh-huh.
No, you are really listening to the feeling that is in them trying to be expressed. And what you mean by listening to that feeling is you're allowing your body to get a feeling in response to that feeling. And the words you say back to the person come from your feeling, not from their words.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Uh-huh. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes
Yes.
sense to me.
Yes.
But I like the way you say it because it really does become a kind of a feeling to feeling sort of interaction.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. That, I mean, the key thing in there is, it, for me, of that is, well, where did I get this?
Hmm.
That I'm saying back to them. Oh,
Yeah.
I got it from you, from the speaker.
Yeah.
I didn't get it from thinking about it. I got this from you.
Yeah.
So that, I mean, one of the things that's remarkable and that I just pay attention to, or I try to do what I learned from Gene too, is that I try to be reflexive, which is that I try to both do it and also immediately point to what has just gone on.
Hmm.
That's what I mean by reflexive.
Hmm.
Uh, uh, so that I point out that even as the person is speaking, you just as you're doing right now,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
it's starting
Yeah.
to,
Yeah. Yeah.
the sense is starting to form in
Yes.
you
Yeah.
before the sentence is completed or before the point is made or
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
even though you can't say yet what it is, you don't know as the listener what it is, but you're already, oh, yeah, yes, yes, yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
Exactly.
I'm with you. I'm with you.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. I'm
It,
getting it. I'm getting
yeah.
it.
That's so interesting. It's as it's forming in the speaker, it is also
Hmm.
forming in the listener.
Yes. Now, I haven't said that before. So yes, that's right. As it is forming in the speaker, it is also forming in the listener.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that, I mean, the thing that I find really interesting about that, first of all, I find it's not as though the speaker has a fully formed something that they somehow put into the listener who then gets it all fully formed. It's it's as it's an alive process in forming itself that it's already in the listener doing exactly the same thing.
Yeah. Hmm.
But the thing that I find interesting,
So I just want to hold
yeah,
that for a second because I have never said it as clearly as you said it before. So I want to hold on to that. Yes,
yeah,
yes, because that adds a dimension to it that I haven't myself formulated in that way. It's the as it is forming
exactly.
in the speaker, it is also forming
Yeah.
in the listener.
Yeah. And f from my experience, I don't know how general this is, I would say there's something about the forming in the speaker picking
Yes, yes,
up
yes,
on that. It's like when my
yes,
body picks up on that, there's
yes,
something about how alive that is because it's
yes, yes,
forming that
yes,
actually makes listening into a really alive, exciting kind of experience.
yes, yes,
It's
yes.
not you're up here trying to figure it out. You're not up here trying to say it back perfectly. You're down in your body and it feels alive.
Yes, 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 yes. Yeah, right. Yeah. This adds to, well, I don't know where that fits exactly, but it adds to Gene's statement, interacting is first,
Hmm.
that it is in the interacting that
Yeah,
what happens is created. And this is a different aspect of that. In the forming
yeah,
in the forming of the speaker, the forming also happens in the receiver,
yeah,
and then you're adding there, which I absolutely agree with. And that forming itself has a sense of being incredibly alive.
yeah, yes, yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yes, yes, yes. I love that. I love that. Yeah. Yeah, it is a further acknowledgement of it, awareness of it, recognition of that this is a living process, that this is a process,
hmm,
but it's process doesn't process can mean step one, step two, step three, and it's not that meaning of process.
sure,
That this is a process that is always.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm wondering if you would say that an important part of this is that it's this kind of interactive coming alive that is
Uh-huh, uh-huh,
attended to. But I'm
uh-huh.
wondering if you would say that there's something crucial about bringing attention to it, that there's something about attending to it that is important in this process becoming alive. Or does it just happen if you don't get in the way of it?
Well, I love the question because I mean, part of what I teach and what I'm aware of is that I say speaking is always going somewhere.
Hmm.
So when I listen to somebody, I'm always aware that this is attempting to move to somewhere, attempting to move forward.
Hmm.
So that's a question that is always present with me is, uh, oh, where is this going? Or what is wanting to move
Hmm.
here? So that's my first thought in response to,
Hmm.
but I can't seem to convey that uh, as satisfactorily as I would like to people who come uh, to my classes. But it is a different set that I have, and it's a different understanding of what's happening here.
Yes. Can I say it back to you, and
Please, please.
then you can correct me. It might
Yeah,
help
yeah.
because I'll say it wrong, I'm sure. Um, that maybe you're pointing to the phenomenon that the speaker is engaged in an activity which then you're implicitly involved in, but engaged in an activity or explicitly involved in, engaged in an activity that is not about expressing a conclusion.
Yes, yes,
It's about
yes,
following a path of experiencing and thinking that goes on.
yes, yes,
You know, there could
yes,
be an arbitrary end to it, but it probably is arbitrary.
yes, yes, yes. Right. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. It is my understanding, and I get this from Gene's philosophy too, of course, is that so let me see if I can put this together here. So I say in my book that empathic listening is the interacting which moves forward, which moves the living forward that was intended in the speaking.
Hmm.
That the speaking always has a moving forward intended, implied, then to bring in Gene's terms for it, implied.
Yeah.
Now, whether it carries forward, and I use the term living forward, I'd have to think a little bit about why I use that instead of carrying forward. Uh, whether or not it carries forward, moves forward,
Yeah.
depends upon the interacting.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. You would have to be a very robust speaker to
Yes,
persevere.
yes, yeah. Right, right. Shut up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let me
Exactly.
just talk here.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
don't say
Or,
that. Or you have to be incredibly in touch with what you're doing to say, no, no, not that.
yeah. Yeah.
Well, that might be true. That might be true, but no, not that.
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. You really need to be safeguarding it in some way so you can
Yeah,
keep going
yes,
back to it.
right, right,
And
right.
on that note, my understanding is that your book is made for anyone.
Yes, 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 yeah. That's the intention.
Okay, so your hope potentially is that the general public might learn this process. Is that right?
Yeah, yes, yeah,
Okay.
right.
So I'm curious, how do you see that happening? Do you think, you know, because I mean,
Yeah.
partly I
Mhm.
say that, in practical terms, like large
Yeah,
teaching things or people reading the book, and that might be enough for them to get together and practice. That's one side of it. The other side
yeah.
is that there's so much speaking out in public by people who don't know anything about a process like this that immediately kind of is captured by cliche or repetition, and it's a way of speaking that
Oh,
you know
uh-huh.
seems like it's almost like a closed loop. It doesn't have a carrying forward that opens up in some way.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes, yes. So I also say that the kind of thing that I am teaching
yeah.
is for a very specific kind of interaction,
Okay.
but it is a kind of interaction that may encounter several times a day.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of interaction in which you have the sense
Hmm.
from the speaker
Hmm.
that those words are not, I'll just use this word at this moment, where
Yeah.
that's not exactly correct, are not exhausting
Hmm.
what they are saying.
Hmm.
So I use funny language here and I say that you have the sense that the speaker is experiencing a lot,
Hmm.
that these words are only uh, are do not exhaust it, do not complete it, do not capture it.
Hmm. Hmm.
That you have that sense,
Hmm.
and that is when this kind of responding
Yeah.
is, I am asserting, is the only responding that moves the speaking forward.
Yeah.
So that's the occasion for it. It isn't the loop that you're
Yeah.
talking about. It isn't what has already been rehearsed that
Yes.
a speaker, it isn't asking somebody, and it isn't chit chat,
Yeah.
conversation, except that it can happen in conversation where suddenly the person says something
Hmm.
and you hear and you get the way that I try to teach it. I don't know if this makes sense or not, but the way I try to teach it is that you're listening and they're talking back and forth, and suddenly you ooh.
Yeah. Yeah.
What was that? There's an ouch, or not exactly an ouch, but there's a in the listener there's a oh
Yeah.
there, where suddenly it changes. And I give a lot of examples in that in the book, but it happens all the time
Yeah.
with it might be, well, how are you? Well, I'm fine. How's your kids? How's your wife? Well, they're doing fine. Jeremy's in school and he's doing well. And with Lisa, I don't know what to do. Ooh. That's what I try to teach is that those are the occasions.
Yeah. 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 I really like that because there's something about teaching it like that where you're putting it out in the context of daily life.
Yes, yes, yes,
And you're
yes,
saying this is how to notice when this moment has arisen.
yes, yes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's good.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And it can even be in without words. It can be, well, how are you?
Yeah. Yeah, that's enough, definitely.
Oh, there's something there.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have other examples?
Oh, well, I was thinking my wife said to me at one point, so it's in the book too, because my mind was alert as I was doing this over the years to get examples of these
Hmm.
kinds of things. They would come to me. She said, my mother was really my mother pretty much on her own raised five kids. It's quite amazing what she was able to do with us. I don't think I ever told her that.
Feel that immediately. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
I really appreciate the putting it into ordinary interaction.
Uh-huh. Mhm.
That really feels so important to me because I think
Yes.
that's
Yeah.
where um, a lot of us in the focusing world maybe kind of aren't maybe don't quite have the confidence to sort of let it sort of seamlessly come in to everyday life.
Oh, yeah, yes, yes, yes. Uh-huh. Right. That
Yeah.
it's more of a formal interaction or a formal process, and maybe formalized with getting together with somebody and doing it,
Yes. Or
as opposed to what I'm saying. Or go
exactly.
ahead. Uh-huh.
Or even maybe on some occasions, the desire to bring it into everyday life means kind of reflecting back to someone when it isn't really there for them and they don't really,
Uh-huh.
the reflection isn't useful to them.
Yes, yes, yes. Uh-huh.
But if I understand what you're pointing out, it's like it's when it's actually there for the speaker.
Yes,
That's the
yes,
time.
yes, absolutely. Yes. Uh-huh.
Yeah. Yeah, that feels good.
And that's what I'm trying to teach. So it isn't only, so I say I don't say it fully enough, and I might want to add a chapter or something. There are other occasions for doing this that are very useful,
Okay.
like in conflict, and in meetings in which you're trying to sort out an idea. Uh, there are a number of things.
Hmm.
I don't deal with that. What I'm is for this thing that we're just talking about now.
Hmm.
In everyday life,
Hmm.
when you're with somebody and you hear one of these
Hmm.
in which they are feeling more than the words,
Yeah. Yeah. And your body actually resonates. It picks up on it in some way.
your body resonates and picks up on it.
Yeah.
Yes, in some way. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Yes. I'm going to add something there,
yeah,
but I enjoy your questions. So if I'm
I won't lose it.
okay, thank you. So I don't teach focusing. I teach this
Hmm.
because I think this does it.
Hmm.
Now, it doesn't do it like form learning focusing formally does, or getting together with somebody and doing focusing does. I want to make people aware of, and that's what I attempt to do in the book too, because I spent a lot of time on the felt sense before I call it the felt sense.
Hmm.
I want to point to this, that it's there.
Yeah.
It's there, and it's there all the time. And then there is a response when you that you can learn to be with another when it is there.
Yeah.
That is, and now I'm going to add to it, that is alive and life forming for both,
Hmm.
is what I will add from our conversation
Yeah.
to it.
Yeah. And so that's how you teach the process rather than
Yes,
teaching
yes,
focusing.
yes, 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 yeah, yeah,
It's interesting.
yeah, yeah,
So then my question I want to go back to is,
yes.
do you have a sense of how this could become better known? I mean, your book, of course, is one aspect of that, but is that enough?
No, I don't.
Good.
My laughter is with pain as well.
Yeah, you've been in this world for quite a while, and
Yeah,
yeah,
my book was my best version of it. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't. I know that Edwin Roosh,
yeah.
you know,
Empathy
he
circles.
yes, is doing it a a lot more than I ever imagined. And so he's promoting empathy circles as a way of doing it, and people are adopting that. And I have never joined an empathy circle, so I don't actually know the experience of it, other than in changes a long time ago, we would do a round robin.
Yeah.
What I have a hunch that that's similar to what he does.
Mhm.
So he's promoting that as a social change tool. Uh, and I haven't quite taken that up.
Okay.
Other than writing my book, I don't know. Uh, yeah, yeah.
Um, I am aware that along the way you also got very involved in nonviolent communication.
Yes.
And I'm curious about that. I'm curious about what that added for you and sort of that experience and how you combine the two practices if you do.
Yes, I do. I certainly do. And where I do workshops is when I go to Europe and do workshops, I don't travel so much anymore. It's only with nonviolent communication trainers.
Okay.
Uh, so Marshall Rosenberg was a student of Carl Rogers, the developer of nonviolent communication,
Yeah.
at a different time than Gene was. Gene was a student of Rogers at the University of Chicago from 1950 to 57, was when Rogers was there, and then Rogers left and went to the University of Wisconsin. And Marshall was in the graduate school at the University of Wisconsin under Rogers.
Okay.
And that's how he got introduced to empathy. So that there's that commonality.
Hmm.
Um, uh, so that initial experience that I told you about of being in the group and my being so angry at the one woman,
Hmm.
I came out of that with two directions. One was, what did he do to me? And the other one was, how could I say to this woman what I was experiencing without doing to her
Yeah, exactly.
what I saw her doing to everyone else?
Yeah.
And that sent me looking in the other direction. And the short story of that is at some point, not too long of a point, I came across Marshall's work. First, Thomas Gordon's work, because he addresses that. Do you know Thomas Gordon?
No, I don't. No.
Parent effectiveness training.
Okay, I've heard of that. Yes, I didn't.
Yes, yes. Gordon was a student of Rogers
Okay.
at Ohio State.
Okay.
Rogers first went to Ohio State in 1940 to 45, and then the chancellor or provost, I don't know what those titles are, at the University of Chicago asked him to come to the University of Chicago and teach there as well as form counseling center there. And Gordon was a student of Rogers at Ohio State and then went to the University of Chicago. I don't know if he had completed his PhD, but I know he was also a part of the counseling center and a part of the faculty at the University of Chicago. But Gordon, at some point, realized the same thing as me, which is, so I know how to listen, but what if I'm pissed off at you?
Hmm.
What do I do then?
Hmm.
How do I do this?
Hmm.
So Gordon was the first one who developed, if you ever have the understanding or you come across the idea of I messages, that's Gordon's contribution. He was the first one to name this thing called I messages, which is how to speak without blame.
Yeah.
So I came across Gordon and I went to his training and learned how to do PET. And that was in February of 1972. And then later in the year, I came across Marshall's work and met Marshall. And then in March of 1973, I took a workshop with Marshall. And his was even more exhaustive than Gordon's was. So that fit the thing there for how could I talk to this woman
Yeah.
in a way which was without blame, which was fully disclosing of where I was. And that's how I got hooked on Marshall.
Can I just
And
say back to you what
go ahead.
the way you're talking
Mhm.
about at least the initial interest, it sounds like almost you appreciated the experience of being able to listen to people so that they could actually express themselves. And then you needed to go to the other side of how can you express yourself so people can hear you.
So people can hear me.
Yeah.
Right. Yes. Yes. And Marshall had a way, and this was what the hook really was when I went into my first workshop
Yeah.
with him, of identifying the judgment that I was having of the other person. You are a jerk. You are rude. Lady, excuse me, you're about the most judgmental person I've ever met.
Yeah.
If I had just spoken.
Yeah. Yeah.
If I had blurted it out or
Yeah.
something. And I wasn't going to do that because I knew that that's what my initial tie-up was, is what do I say? What do
Yeah.
I say?
Yeah. Yeah.
I am furious. I am furious and I don't know what to say.
Yeah.
Uh, uh, and I shouldn't be furious because I'm a good person. That was part of the convolution
Okay.
that I had in that very thing that Gene got. uh, uh, so Marshall gave me a way to identify the judgment and to separate the judgment from what actually happened, which he called an observation. What did they say? And what do I think about that? So, from the name calling, what did they actually say? And that separation itself gave me oh, gave me a sense of freedom that I did not experience when all that I am aware of is the judgment.
Yeah.
Oh, she said to so and so, I'm doing it now for the first time because I haven't done it with that person. She said so and so. She said, I don't like her, whatever she said. But, that's not such a big deal. And the judgment I am having about that is that she is, I don't insensitive, rude,
Mhm.
something like that. Oh, that's what's going on. And then there's another step. And when I have that judgment about her, what's happening with me? That's the process that I started to get with Marshall. And that was a freeing process.
Yeah. I can imagine that. I'm waiting to
Mm-hmm. Uh-huh.
hear what you would actually say back.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. To the person. Well, then it would be something like, when you said that to the other person, so I have to take a moment to do this.
Yeah.
When you said that to them, I felt I felt I was both worried and I was felt very sad because, see, I haven't done this yet.
No,
So
that's
I'm
good.
going back to that. This is
Yeah.
50 years
Yeah.
now or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Let me see, because this is then I'm doing the Marshall steps here, the steps of observation, feelings, needs, requests there, because I because and then you have to do focusing
Yeah.
there, but it
I
gets
get
you
it.
into focusing, right?
Yeah.
I felt sad. I tensed and
Mm.
I felt sad. I was worried that what so and so said, that they would hear it as a judgment and stop
Hmm.
saying more of what they wanted to say.
Yeah.
Something like that. Now it takes a moment to
Yeah.
do it more fully there.
Yeah. But I get it. That's a great example because I can hear, first of all, how you're introducing the I statement.
Yes, yes,
It
yeah,
becomes about your process,
yes, uh-huh.
and you have to slow it down enough that you kind of make space for the different aspects of your
Yes, yes, yes,
process. Yeah.
yeah, yes, yes, yes,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I have a chapter on what if I want to say something.
Mhm. Okay.
And then I deal with that very briefly. I say,
Okay.
well, if you want to learn how to say something, go to nonviolent communication or go to Gerald Goodman from the Chicago Counseling Center and the University of Chicago, who then went to UCLA and was on the faculty there and wrote a book called The Talk Book.
Hmm.
I recommend that. I say go to Gordon, go to Marshall, Rosenberg, go to Goodman's book. Those are three that I know of
Okay.
who can teach you how to say this. I try to give an example there,
Mhm.
but I say that's not the purpose of this
Yeah.
book
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
That is what people try to do who have done this before. That's what Kharkov tries to do. Do you know Robert Kharkov? Do you know that
Only
name?
by name. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what he tries to do. That's what Gerald Egan tried to do at Loyola University. And I used to collect all of these things.
Yeah.
So I've got a of people who were teaching listening,
Uh-huh.
and they always do something else. And I don't want to
Hmm.
because people don't know this
Yeah, exactly.
and they don't stay with it.
Yeah. Yeah.
They,
Yeah.
it's not seen as a, well, I'll do this until.
Yeah.
Well, that's true, but my until is way, way, way
Yeah.
later than anybody else's until.
Yeah. Yeah. You want people to get it much more fundamentally.
Yes, 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 yeah, yes, yeah. And to have the awareness that this is going somewhere
Yes.
and let's go with them and see where it goes.
Mhm. Yeah, that's interesting. I'm partly conscious of time.
Oh,
I'm
yes, yes, yes.
using quite a
Mhm.
bit of your time.
Oh, I'm
I
fine. This is so delightful
okay.
for me.
Yeah, for me as well. I find it really, really interesting. I wanted to ask just, I'm getting a sense of that the world that you've been in for a while and you've now
Mhm.
produced this book, but some of the kind of the tendrils go way back to Gene's early days and Marshall's early days and some of these other people. Did Gene and Marshall know each other? Are you aware of?
You have no idea why I'm laughing, but they're wonderful questions for me. So, I'm young and I'm into nonviolent communication. I'm into focusing. I'm
Yes.
into both of those.
Yeah.
And I'm doing both. And the reason I got into nonviolent communication was primarily um the market that in Chicago, I brought Marshall to do workshops in Chicago.
Okay.
And Gene was in Chicago and giving focusing, and people were coming to the Focusing Institute and then starting to learn focusing. And in Chicago, there were focusing teachers, or people started to teach focusing.
Okay.
Nobody else was doing nonviolent communication but me. So the market for me was in
Yeah.
nonviolent communication. It wasn't in focusing.
Okay. Yeah, I get it.
Although my therapy practice was always Gendlin.
Hmm.
It wasn't in therapy, I don't do Marshall,
Hmm.
even though empathic listening is a part of nonviolent communication. It's slightly different with Marshall because he got it from Rogers, but he doesn't have it in the same way that. So that, in answer to your question earlier about my involvement in nonviolent communication, I got involved in it, and it was very personally moving, as was focusing,
Yeah.
but it was also the market
Okay.
really was there for me to have a practice so
Yeah.
that I could teach classes and do workshops in nonviolent communication at the same time that I'm doing my therapy practice.
So, because you were there
Yeah, yeah, yes,
in
yes.
both worlds,
Oh, yes,
did
yes,
you
yes.
become a bridge? Did you try to get
Well,
people
yeah,
to,
yes, yes. So, I talked with Gene a lot.
yeah.
I had a lot of contact with Gendlin. I had this wonderful experience. because I would go to his classes and workshops and meet with him, and he would come to changes. And then there was a time that he moved from Hyde Park to Evanston. Uh, can't remember what the occasion for that was. And I wanted as much contact with Gene as I could get,
Yeah.
so that I offered, and Evanston is 13 miles away from Hyde Park. And he didn't have a car, so he'd take public transportation from his apartment to his classes. And I said, Gene, I'll give you a ride. So I would go to Evanston and pick him up and take him down to the University of Chicago to his classes. And I had this incredible experience with him because I was in incredible pain, suffering over a broken relationship. So we had this arrangement that I would talk with, and he would listen to me until we got to the Chicago River, which was halfway. And then he would talk, and I would listen to him until we got to 57 57 University Street, which was where the university, where his office was at the building there. So I had this ongoing wonderful relationship with Gene. Uh, but
Yeah.
so I would talk with Gene frequently, and then I would tell him about Marshall. And
Yeah.
then Marshall would come into town and he would stay at my apartment because I was sponsoring the workshops or hosting the workshops. And then I would talk to Marshall about Gendlin or so. And at one point, they were both involved in the University of Wisconsin at a huge mental health research project sponsored by the National Institute of Mental Health that Rogers got the grant for, studying psychotherapy with schizophrenics at Mendota State Hospital. And Gene was the administrator of that project, and Marshall was one of the therapists in that.
Oh, whoa.
So I didn't know this.
Yeah.
I mean, I knew that. At one point, Marshall's in town, and I call up Gene and I say, uh, I'd like to have the two of you have a conversation. Would that be all right? So I brought Marshall to Gene's apartment for a conversation between them. Now, I was very disappointed in it. I didn't, because I'm young, and all they did was reminisce about Wisconsin. And I wanted them. I mean, if I had it now, of course, I would say, "Excuse me, Marshall, would you tell Gene what your work is? And Gene, would you tell Marshall what your work is?"
Yeah.
Because that's the conversation I wanted to have happen and be a witness to. Now, fast forward 40 years. I have a conversation with Gene a year before he died. I visited him at his home. I took the train there from New York City and I had a conversation. It was a 4 hour conversation that I had. And I had four questions. And one was about NVC. So, and apparently at that time, I had never actually explained what NVC was to Marshall. To Gene. So I said what it was. Here's the four steps that Marshall has talked about: observations, feelings, needs, requests. And I went through it. So I said, observation, here's an observation. Here's what he means by observation. It was wonderful. And Gene just sat there, and he sat there and he, uh-huh. After about 2 minutes or so. It was the fastest I've ever taught anybody observations, feelings, needs, requests. And here's what a feeling is for Marshall. About 2 minutes or so, and then he'd say, uh-huh. And then he told me that he had never met Marshall in Wisconsin, that the only time he ever met Marshall was when we got together for that conversation in Chicago at his apartment. So they were on the same project, but it was a huge project and Gene was in charge of it, but Marshall was an ancillary he was an outside therapist who,
Yeah.
and there were dozens of therapists who were involved in the project of the research project, the research study. It was a huge
Hmm.
research study. There's a huge 2 or 3 volumes that have been written about that.
Yeah.
Uh, so that's my. They never talked. Other than that, when they were reminiscing about Wisconsin, it was about not their experience with each other, but about Madison being in Wisconsin.
It's so interesting that they they were, I mean, apart from that, they were also a little bit later kind of developing such complementary practices and even in the same geographical area sometimes, and there just wasn't this cross-fertilization.
The one thing I remember from that with Gendlin when I presented it to him, when I got to requests, he says, "Oh, that's the piece that is missing for us in focusing." I do remember Gene saying that. Yeah. A request is what is the who do you want to do what? That's the fourth step in Marshall's process. Who do you want to do what? Given what you've said, given the uh, self-disclosure here. Now, who do you want to do what, which would make your life better, or now that would meet your need, and the who do you want to do what? And that's a very specific thing with Marshall. But when I told that to Gene, he says that what I just said to you. He
Yeah,
says, "Oh, that's the missing piece. So we don't have an action step."
yeah, yeah. That's like almost like a relational action.
Yes, 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 yes,
So
yes.
in your example of that woman,
Mhm,
that
mhm.
poor woman,
What would have I wanted her to
yeah,
do?
yes,
Yeah. So I would really enjoy it if when you heard the person next to you say what you heard them say, if you would say what you were feeling when you heard that, would you be willing to do that?
that's interesting. Yeah. Yeah, I can imagine you only get to that if you have done the observations that, separating
Yes, yes,
judgment.
yes. Right. You'd have to do all the whole process there. Yeah,
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 because otherwise your
yeah,
request would be, I really wish
yeah.
you would stop saying those, just
Right, 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 right. Uh-huh.
is what we usually do.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
So
yeah.
I'm just conscious of the time. You've been very
Yes.
generous, and I want to just say, I mean, I'll put a link to the book so people can find it, and to your website so people can find you and your teaching and your other work. Um, I'm just wondering if there's anything else that you feel kind of passionate about that you would like to talk about before we wrap it up.
Well, I thought that I had thought there are things that I got from Gene that were just precious to me.
Yeah.
And I would even like all of us in the community to say those things that he didn't necessarily, that aren't written anywhere. So I'll give you an example
Yeah.
of one.
Good.
Because that I thought we might get into that, and I was thinking, now what are those things? Because every once in a while they come across to me of here's something I learned from Gene.
Hmm.
So when we were doing this drive down, and I was in this anguish from a broken relationship, and it didn't move, and it didn't move, and it was the same for months, and I would be saying the same thing, and some friends got tired of it because they'd ask me how I was, and I would just be repeating myself, repeating. I said, Gene, do you ever get tired of what I'm saying? And he says, well, he says, I hold two things simultaneously. One is, oh, yeah, 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 that's how it is. That's never going to change. Yeah, yes. And the other is, at any moment, it's going to change. And that was such an important learning for me
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
that I don't think is written anywhere, nor in any therapy text. I don't know, of course. I haven't read all the therapy texts, but to hold both of those positions so
Yeah.
that, oh yeah, yeah, right. That's how it is. That's how you are. That's how this is in you. And yep, yep.
Yeah.
And the other. And
Yeah. That's interesting to hold the reality of what it's really like, and also the trust that at any moment the process could ignite itself. Yeah.
I said once to him, what do you do with people on the street who start talking to you? And it's not the cultural talking there. It's not but so you have the idea that something is there, something
Hmm.
is going on with them. It would be like a heavy person in
Yeah, yeah,
changes or something like that.
exactly.
And he said, I always try to match the level of self-disclosure that I am getting from them. And I thought, oh, yeah,
Yeah, then it becomes a person-to-person
yeah,
contact.
yeah, yes, yeah. Person on the street, the person on the bus who blurts out.
Yeah, yeah. They're looking for contact or
Yeah,
something.
yeah, yeah, yes. I try to meet them. He didn't say meet, he said what
Hmm.
I said
Hmm.
to match the level of self-disclosure.
Yeah, yeah.
That's another one that comes to my mind. There may be more, but those are two that.
Yeah, that's inspiring. Again, I'm noticing a lot of what we've been talking about. I am picturing that this is ordinary life interventions that we're talking about.
Yeah,
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 which I really
yeah,
appreciate. I appreciate that.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much for your time. I have really, really enjoyed it.
Mutual.
Yeah. You go to focusing conferences at all? No. Okay. So I won't see you there, but maybe we'll meet somewhere.
It's like it's funny. I can't stand focusers. And I'm sorry that I've never gone to the
Yeah.
conferences because I have all the ones that Nadalu
Yeah. Yeah.
recorded, and they're just absolutely wonderful. But I can't stand it. And
Yeah. Tell me a little more just before we end. What is that? What is it?
well, yeah. So this is from years ago,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
because
It's
I haven't
okay.
been around.
Mhm.
It's because everything is, you can't say anything light. You know? There's no joking involved. There's no light stuff. There's no,
Okay.
it's all,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, yes. I had a wonderful teasing relationship with Gendlin, with Gene, you know.
He had a great sense of humor.
Oh yes, yes, yes. I would always tease him and he would tease me back. And
You've thrown down the gauntlet now
yes.
for the focusing community
Right.
to lighten
Yes.
up.
Right.
Lighten up.
Because I say to people, it's a difficulty with me. or I get misinterpreted. I rarely pass up the opportunity for a joke or for
Yeah.
teasing or
Yeah. Yeah, I've got a little bit of that in me as well, I have to say.
oh, wonderful, wonderful.
Yeah, I wish you well and good luck with the book, and I'll make sure that people can find it.
Thank you very much.
Okay. It's been a pleasure.
Likewise.
Yeah, have a good day.
Goodbye.
Yeah, bye.